I was speaking to someone from another country in El Salvador and someone filmed us. You know, the video went everywhere and I remember reading comments being like, what were they talking about? I bet you it was about that. And I was like, I think we were just talking about what we had for breakfast. You know?
What made you pack up your bags and move to New York?
Your goal isn't to be the most beautiful person in the room. Your goal is to be the most inspiring person creatively. What am I going to do with this title? What am I going to do with this platform that I've just got? Because it's not something you can really prepare for. You don't know if you're going to win. You don't know where you're going to come in Miss Universe and what impact that's going to have. From the minute that you wake up to the minute you go to sleep, which is, you know, you sleep for like 4 hours barely.
Wow.
You're on, you know, you're being filmed from every single angle. People are watching you. People are interpreting everything that you're doing. It's kind of a conflicting feeling. You're achieving all these goals and all these dreams that you've always had. But then at the same time, the core people that you'd love to share that with are back home. Mm-hmm. All the surprise jobs that I never thought that I would do, like the Netflix movie that I was shooting. I was like, I do not see myself in doing this. And I've never done anything like this, but I loved it. And it was so much fun. And now I want to pursue, you know, that direction even more and see where that takes me.
It's a bit of acting on the cards.
Why not?
Okay. What's something that people wouldn't expect about modelling in the US? Hey, welcome back to another episode of The Pod. I hope you're all having a fabulous week. Today's guest needs no introduction. Moraya Wilson captured the world's attention and rose to international fame representing Australia at Miss Universe 2023 in El Salvador, where she placed third globally, the nation's highest result in nearly 2 decades following Jen Hawkins' 2004 win. Since then, Moraya has been carving out an incredible career in New York City, signing with Wilhelmina Models, walking at New York Fashion Week, and working with icons like Pat McGrath. In this episode, we'll chat about life after Miss Universe, the realities of modelling in the US, navigating pressures and online critics, and what it really takes to survive in the city that never sleeps. Moi, welcome to the pod.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh my goodness, I'm so excited that we were able to snag you for a little bit while you are down in Melbourne. Tell me, what are you doing here and how long are you here with us for?
Yes, so I am back. I'm technically on my time off, but I don't do good with time off, so we're still working a little bit. But I'm here for 2.5 months, just over Christmas.
Amazing.
Just to see the family, see the boy.
How exciting. Oh my goodness, finally reunited with your boy. You've been away from him for how long now?
For 11 months.
That is crazy.
A long time of long distance, but.
And how has that long distance been for you guys?
It's not ideal, but I feel like we've been together for so long and he's so supportive of everything that I want to do and everything I want to achieve. So he's just like, do what you've got to do. I'll support you. I'll back you. So we made it work.
That's really sweet. Did he come and visit you at all while you were over there? Oh,
I saw him the whole time. No, I saw him for like 3 or 4 days in May. I was in Vietnam with Miss Universe Australia.
You went with the girls, yes.
Yeah, and so then he flew over. I stayed a few more days. He flew over, and so we saw each other for like 3 days.
Oh, that's really sweet.
Which, honestly, it was probably harder saying goodbye then because it was like only 3 days. Yeah. And I was like, wait, hang on.
Aww.
I just saw you. But yeah.
I can imagine how challenging that must have been, but you make it work.
Yes.
Now I know that you were doing a lot of work here at the moment. You were dressed up in all these beautiful outfits for the spring carnival. Talk to us about that. How was that?
Oh, it was literally such a whirlwind getting off the plane. I landed and went practically straight to Alin's studio and he dressed me, and my incredible stylist, Alicia Marshall, she had pre-planned all the outfits for before I came home. So I didn't really tell anyone I was coming back. I kind of just forgot.
You just popped up.
Yeah,
you
I
really
was just
did.
like, I'm here. But we went straight to Derby Day, straight into it. And I really wanted to come back to Australia and have a big fashion moment. I feel like I've just been working overseas and seeing so much incredible fashion on a global scale and, you know, working with incredible designers internationally. I was like, let's do something big. Let's go, you know, all out in the fashion landscape. And Alin was like, yes, let's do it. And Jason Gretsch, he was like, yes, absolutely. So we just had a lot of fun. Worked with the VRC, doing the Melbourne Cup Carnival travel and experience ambassadorship, which was great. And it was just a good kind of social week, I guess, to see everyone in one spot because, you know, everyone was there and it was just a good catch up as well. But yeah, it was a hectic week. I slept like an absolute baby for 4 days after.
I can imagine. You are
jet lag and
you are the ultimate cool girl though, right? You really are. And all your outfits were just exceptional. Who is your ultimate style muse and how do you come up with this inspo for your outfits? Talk us through the process.
I feel like I spend so much time on Pinterest and so much time just watching people in New York as well, on social media and just at cafes and at different castings. And you kind of draw inspiration from runways and other designers and people that you're working with and clothes that you're actually modeling, especially when, you know, the stylists on set are styling things in certain ways. You go, oh, I wouldn't have thought to do that. And then, you know, watching all the Paris runways and Milan runways, you're like, oh, that's so beautiful. That's incredible. How can we apply that and, you know, in a more street style kind of way? But yeah, I feel like I've been so involved in the fashion industry. It's like all my mind's thinking about is just different, ways to style things and bring it all together.
For sure. And do you have a favourite look from the Carnival?
Spring Carnival?
Yeah. Oh. You had some incredible looks.
I think probably the first look for Derby Day, the black and white with the hat.
The polka dots, that was amazing.
And, I was just, I had no idea what I was wearing until I showed up at Alin's. And he's like, cool, so we've made this for you. Let's just pop it on, make sure it fits.
Yeah.
And Alicia, my stylist, she kind of coordinated the whole thing, put it all together. I sent over my measurements when I was still in New York. And it was like the first time I saw it was the night before and it fit perfectly. And it was just like we all kind of, after he zipped it up and put it on, we were like, wow, this is amazing. Yeah. And then we're like, we need gloves, we need to style it with a hat. How can we make it wow? And I feel like I kind of stepped into a character when I was in that outfit. I was like, oh, I'm Audrey Hepburn or something. How can I? It was giving a bit of Audrey Hepburn, wasn't it? Like, how can we play this character? Which is all part of the fun of it.
I love that beautiful pink feathery.
Oh, that was stunning as well.
That was gorgeous.
That felt fun. I was like, this was really fun way to kind of wrap up my days here.
That really was.
Yeah.
I want to start by taking it back to that incredible moment on the Miss Universe stage in 2023 in El Salvador, because that's really where the world met you, right? You had just represented Australia. You're standing in front of stage, in front of millions of people on this stage. When you think back to that moment, what was going through your mind?
Oh, everything and nothing at the same time.
Does it feel like a blur?
Honestly, like it is such an overwhelming feeling standing on that stage because it's nothing that you can really prepare for. You can prepare as best as you can in terms of, how you're going to stand, where your hands are going to be. But when you're actually there and, there's thousands and thousands of people chanting and screaming and bells going and whistles and flags and you're so nervous and you're being watched by everyone from every angle, you're just like, whoa, this is a lot. But also I feel like I had no really expectations going into it. So it was kind of all just exciting and this is new and I wasn't really expecting to get much from it. So I feel like I enjoyed it a lot more, especially standing there. It was just like, this is crazy. What's happening?
Kind of just soaking it all in, right?
Yeah.
And competing on that scale, what did you learn about yourself that you didn't know before?
I think in probably just, whatever you believe about yourself is what will happen. I think going into it, I'd never watched Miss Universe. I'd never even seen one.
Was it your first pageant?
Yeah.
Wow.
It was my first anything like that. And after I won Miss Universe Australia, I still had never even watched a Miss Universe or seen. I didn't even know who the winner was at the time. I knew nothing about it. And so I think, for me that probably worked in my favour because I didn't have, I guess, a benchmark of what I thought I should be doing or what I thought should be happening. It was kind of all just happening very naturally. And I knew that if I put the work in and prepared as best as I possibly could in the way that I thought is what I needed to do, then, it's out of my hands and all that happens and just enjoy it. Yeah. And so when you take away expectation, you take away pressure and everything is more of a surprise and you're more present in everything that you're doing and everything that happens just feels like a bonus. You know, you don't feel like, oh, I should have done that, or I should be doing this, or if it works out, then good. That's, you know, tick. That should have happened. It was all just like going with the flow and really enjoying it. And I think that energy is what got me so far in Miss Universe.
And what was something about the experience that people don't see, the emotional side of it or the mental side of it?
I think it is it's mentally grueling. You know, I'm a competitive person. I like to compete. I used to be an athlete
by nature, right?
Yeah. So, you know, you don't go into something hoping to come second or not, you know, win. And so keeping your composure when the pressure is high and, you know, the nerves are just out of control is something, you know, like backstage, everyone's shaking and sweating and you're so nervous. But then you step onto the stage and you just have to perform and show up, and, you know, things go wrong left, right and center, and it's just not, you know, water off a duck's back, not letting it affect you in any way that's going to, you know, rock your mentality too much. And I think as well, it's so tiring because from the minute that you wake up to the minute you go to sleep, which is, you know, you sleep for like 4 hours barely.
Wow.
You're on, you know, you're being filmed from every single angle. People are watching you. People are interpreting everything that you're doing in, you know, whatever way that they do. You know, I remember I was speaking to someone from another country in El Salvador, and someone filmed us. And, you know, the video went everywhere, and I remember reading comments being like, what were they talking about? I wonder what it was. I bet you it was about that. And I was like, I think we were just talking about what we had for breakfast, you know, nothing spectacular. But when you have all those eyes on you, it's a lot. You can get really in your own head about, you know, how am I coming across? What do I look like? You know, what I'm saying okay? You know, everything like that can really shift your mentality and affect how you show up as yourself. And I think really, you know, not letting all of that outside noise affect who you are and just being who you are normally, you know, with your friends and with your family, and just keeping that consistency is what keeps you grounded and keeps you in control.
And how did you handle that intensity though? The pressure, the expectations, people constantly watching you and critiquing you online. Did you have any sort of coping mechanisms or things that helped you during that time?
Going into it, a lot of people said to me, you know, you just don't even listen and don't look. Positive, negative, don't even look at it, because only you really know what's happening on the inside and in the experience. And so, you know, you're getting tagged in a million things a day. I would just watch them and just like restory, but not grab onto any narrative that was, you know, being formed of, you know, Miss Australia this or Miss Australia that. It was just like, this is me, I'm just having fun, and, you know, interpret however you will. And I think, my coping mechanisms was just knowing that, you know, I'd lie in bed at night and just visualize what I'd be doing the next day, you know, what I'm wearing, how my hair and makeup was going to be styled, what activities I had scheduled, and just trying to make it as normal as possible, because it's so not normal. Is just, that's just what I did.
I feel like it would take real mental fortitude and strength to try and
totally
get through that, because from what I can see, it seems like a really grueling program, and you're constantly on, as you said. And there's probably moments where you feel like, I just want to rest, I just want to sleep, or I just don't want to be filmed right now.
Totally.
You know?
I remember sitting on the bus after a dinner or a gala, and I think it was like 2:00 in the morning. We had not slept. I was so tired, and my feet were killing me because I was in these painful heels that I regretted wearing. And I was sitting on the bus like, I just want to take my shoes off and walk back into the hotel barefoot and hold my dress and just go to bed. But you obviously can't, because there's people there filming and everyone's, you know, ready. And I think, you know, just also having the mentality of this is so temporary. Like, this is 3 weeks of your life. You know, you'll never get this opportunity again. You know, you're only doing Miss Universe once. Just give it everything, you know, give it everything you've got. Yes, it's exhausting. Yes, it's tiring, but also look how lucky you are and look at how incredible this experience is.
That's right.
So I think though that also got me through a lot of moments when I was absolutely exhausted, or just, you know, I can't be bothered wearing makeup today. It's just not my day. It's like, it's 3 weeks of your life, Moraya. Pull yourself together. You'll be okay. And I'm so glad that I did have that mentality, because looking back, I have no regrets of anything. It's like I always showed up even when you didn't want to. And I think that, there's nothing that I would change about the experience, because I gave it 110%.
Yeah. And I think that is the key takeaway, that you walk away with no regrets, knowing that you would not have changed anything that you did. Because I think the worst part is if you do come home and you think,
if only I had just put in a little bit more effort that day, or if I had just done that, or maybe if I had have spoke more at that dinner. You know, your mind tries to change everything that you've done. But at the end of the day, if you just give it everything, then you walk away happy and content no matter what.
And you really did give it everything. Was there a moment backstage or off camera that you'll never forget, something that you can share with us?
Yes, I think there's so many. Like, that whole experience was just so surreal. But when I was on the stage at Miss Universe, we were in the top 3, and I was already like, how am I here? But I was standing on the stage and I could hear all the girls backstage screaming like, go Moraya, go Australia. And I could hear it, because the thing is, I had no one in the audience for Australia. Like, I told my family and friends and everyone, I was like, don't come, guys. It's not a big deal. You know, I might not even make it onto the final night, so just don't stress. Watch it on TV at home. Just, there's a live stream. I'll send you the link. And so there was not a single person from Australia there. So there was not a single Australian flag in the audience. Which, I mean, I was kind of like, less pressure. I was like, you know, it's just me and the world. But I remember looking at all the flags in the audience, and every time I would see a Union Jack, I'd be like, I'll take that.
Close enough.
Yeah, like, I'll take that. But so just hearing the girls backstage, you know, screaming and supporting me. And then I saw videos after of everyone on the little monitor going, go Moraya, go Australia. Like, that's such a beautiful moment. And, you know, staying in contact with all of those girls now. I catch up with them in New York because everyone kind of flies in and out. It's so great. And, you know, walking away with that is what people don't always see, because you think, you're in a competition, everyone's cutthroat, but it's not. You know, at the end of the day, one person walks away as the winner.
That's right.
You've just got to take everything else that you can get from it.
Absolutely. And what was the biggest takeaway from Miss Universe that shaped who you are today?
I think the biggest takeaway would probably be, you know, you've got to make everything happen for yourself. You know, certain opportunities can present themselves, but you need to be the one that's driving it, because at the end of the day, no one else is going to drive it for you. You need to be the one with the plan, and you need to be the one that at every roadblock still has that motivation to keep going, because no matter what you're doing, there's always going to be roadblocks, and there's always going to be obstacles that you have to get over to get through. And I think Miss Universe definitely, you know, reinforced that mentality of, if I want something, you've got to go for it and give it 100%. And, you know, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, but at least you've given it 100%.
For sure. And after such a whirlwind experience with that kind of global attention and adrenaline, I imagine that the real challenge begins once that's done, and then it's like, okay, what's next? And it's not just with pageantry, it happens with anything that people are working towards in their lives. When you're working towards something for so long, which I imagine you were doing for Miss Universe, and then it ends and it's like, oh, what do we do now?
Totally.
How did you navigate that change post Miss Universe?
Oh, not good.
Really?
No, honestly, I remember I came home from El Salvador, and after about a week, I was just mentally like, what am I doing? What happens now? Because leading up to El Salvador, all you're thinking about is Miss Universe. Everything that you're doing is, you know, what outfit am I going to be wearing? Is my walking training right? Is my interview training? Everything is just in preparation for that moment. And so when it's done, you're kind of a little bit lost in no man's land of, well, what do I do? And that goes back to being the person driving the ship, because it all comes down to you. And so I remember after about a week being back in Melbourne, I was like, what am I going to do with this title? What am I going to do with this platform that I've just got? Because it's not something you can really prepare for. You don't know if you're going to win. You don't know where you're going to come in Miss Universe and what impact that's going to have. So I didn't really have a plan after it. I was like, okay, I've got all this opportunity now. What do I do with it? At the time, I was still studying. I was still doing my business marketing degree. I was like in my exams in El Salvador, which was
Story for another day.
Literally, that was just hectic. I was submitting my exams, getting on the plane.
That is insane.
And then I was working as a sports coach and in retail. So I'm like, do I go back to that? Yeah. I've got this opportunity. What can I do with it? What direction do I want to go? How far do I want to go? How far can I take it? And so it was all these questions running through my mind. And I think what I decided to do and how I shaped that, what's next moment is I knew I had a list of goals that I wanted to achieve and I knew, the direction I wanted to go. I just didn't have the steps to get there. And so with that platform from Miss Universe, I just tried to open as many doors as I possibly could. I wanted to try media, entertainment, modeling in the fashion industry, creative industry, just anything, anything I could get my hands on and just try and see, I did. And so obviously working in New York with Wilhelmina and as a model was a huge goal of mine for forever. And so I thought, okay, what can I do with my platform now for Miss Universe that can make that happen? And so, I reached out to a photographer that I met for like 2 seconds at the end of Miss Universe. Like when I was literally checking out at the hotel, he came up to me and said, hey, I'm the photographer. I shoot the official headshot for the winner. Do you model? And I said, yeah, I do. And he goes, oh, in the US? I said, never in the US. He goes, oh, well, if you're ever here, reach out. And that was the only interaction. And so I reached out to him and said, I want to work in America, in New York. I don't know what to do. I don't know who to ask. Can you help me? And so then he put me in contact with someone who knew someone at Wilhelmina, and we had an interview and a conversation, and that got that ball rolling. But it was just literally my plan after Miss Universe was to just open as many doors as I possibly could and just see which one landed.
That is insane. And I want to talk more about your modelling in a second. Mm-hmm. Did you feel pressure though when Miss Universe was over? So your reign is up. Yep. Did you feel pressure to still live up to that image of Miss Universe?
Of course.
Or did you kind of want to break free from it after that?
I felt like when I came back from overseas, you're in a world where every time you show up in public, you're perfectly curated and perfectly done. And so coming back to Melbourne, it took me a while to be like, I can go down the street in my pajamas
with
and get
no makeup on.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. And so I guess stepping out of that and kind of finding myself outside of the Miss Universe world was something that I knew was inevitable because you have the title for 12 months and then it's done. And so I thought, what do I want that world to look like for Moraya? What do I want my next couple of years to look like? What am I inspired by? And I think, I just tried to spend more time, touch grass, spend more time with friends and family. Yep. And, just remember why I started, why I entered in the first place. It was just to, push myself and try something new and give something a go. And I did that. Yeah. And so, it doesn't define your whole life, that part of your life. It definitely worked as a trampoline to elevate to new things. But at the end of the day, it's just me.
Absolutely. And what advice would you give to anyone who is in that reinvention phase and trying to work out what it is that they want to do?
I think you've got to do a lot of self-reflecting of what actually inspires you and what you actually like. Because I think, there was I had so many people telling me you should be doing that, you should be doing this after Miss Universe and make sure you do that and go into this direction. And I was like, do I even want to do that? Is that the direction I even want to go in? So really sitting down with yourself and finding out what makes you tick, what makes you excited, what gets you out of bed, what inspires you really, and then going in that direction is, you still probably don't even know what that would be in terms of having a career around it, but at least just stepping into that direction of, okay, you like talking and you're great at it. So podcasting, perfect, just following that direction of what do you like to do and how can you make that something that you can do every day?
For sure.
And yeah.
And part of that reinvention for you literally meant changing your entire world. You packed up your bags and you moved to New York City. New York is a dream for so many people, especially in the fashion and entertainment space. But I guess that visiting New York for holidays and then living there are probably two very different things, right? What made you pack up your bags and move to New York?
It had always been a goal of mine to work in New York as a model. I visited New York in 2017, I'm going to say, with my family. And this is before I think I'd even told anyone I wanted to do modeling. It was just something that I was like, oh, I kind of want to do this. Yeah. And I remember being in New York. I think we were there for 3 days because it was very short. And I, knew all the addresses of all the agencies and all the castings and all the places to go. And
so you'd done all your research.
I knew everything about it. I knew where all the little spots were. And I just, if we were in that area, I'd be like, oh, can we walk past this building? I just want to see. And I remember my family being like, why? What's there? I'm like, oh, I don't know, an agency. And
were your family supportive of you modelling?
Of course. They was my mum was over the moon. Honestly, she's at the coffee shop every day going, look at what my daughter's wearing at the races.
It's so cute.
I'm like, stop, mum. She's incredible. But it was always a goal of mine to be in New York and work there. And it was just a matter of how can I make this happen? And I had so many people tell me when I first started my modeling career, you're never going to work in New York. You're way too commercial, not your vibe, not your timeline. It's just not going to work. And, it's in this industry, it's all subjective. It's all about opinions and what people think. So you can make whatever you want happen. You just have to really keep pushing for it. And that's what I did.
For sure. And what area of New York are you kind of in? Because there's so many fun neighborhoods in New York and they're all so different.
Yes.
Where are you based?
So, I'll tell you where I started. So when I first got to New York, I booked an Airbnb in Midtown because I thought, I don't know anything about New York. I'll just go center and see what the vibe is. Oh my God, that was so overwhelming.
Yes.
Midtown is like it's like the center of the world, it feels like. Yeah. And living there is intense. It's a very, New York's intense full stop, but Midtown it's like Times Square. So you're living in Times Square and there's people everywhere 24 hours a day. It's so overstimulating. So then I said, okay, maybe Midtown's not my area. Where else can I go? So then I tried the West Village, which I loved. It was beautiful. It's kind of Carrie Bradshaw's neighborhood.
I love that, yeah.
So gorgeous. And I thought, okay, this is a lot more calming. I need this for my nervous system just to feel a bit more grounded. And it's near the West Side Highway, near Hudson River. So you get that environment that you don't really get when you're in Midtown and in the city.
You get trees and
you get
grass.
Birds and a breeze, like it's nice. And then now I'm living in Soho. Are
you in Soho now?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I love Soho as an area.
So beautiful. I love it there. So I've been there since April this year. And it's the best. I feel like honestly I lucked out with my apartment and my roommate and we just have so much fun.
Soho is such a cool area.
It's so good.
Fashion, food, it's all happening in Soho. What surprised you most about New York though when you actually started living there compared to just visiting?
It's such a busy place, but it can also be such a lonely place because it never stops, 24 hours a day. There are people outside my window, 24 hours, super busy. Like you're never by yourself, but that can also be very lonely because you're never, I don't know. It's a very, I guess, like double-edged sword of you're always with people, but you're not always connecting with people. So you never feel by yourself, but you're by yourself. So it's funny. And if you don't have a community in New York, it can be really difficult because it is so intense, such an intense place to live, that you need those people that make you feel grounded and make you feel calm. And you need those, pockets of the city where you can go and it's like your happy, calming place. Because, obviously being on holiday is great and you're happy to just bop around and do everything. But then you go home and you get back into your routine. So building that routine in a place that everyone sees as a holiday and fun is tricky, but also makes it so exciting.
And what does your daily routine look like in New York City? Does it comprise of a lot of bagels over there?
Yes,
Because I love a New York bagel, let me tell you.
Honestly, well, my daily routine, I guess I've got such a great community of people there. I am with this awesome wellness gym down in Financial District. So I'll usually go for a walk, meet everyone down there, do a workout, run club, whatever we're doing that day. And then, go grab a coffee, probably a bagel somewhere, walk past Starbucks.
Yes.
And then, either have castings or shoots that day and catch up with people for dinner or cook dinner with my roommate at home. Like pretty standard, to be honest. But everything feels a little bit more magical because it's New York.
New York.
Yeah, you're like, oh, this is so cool.
Of course. Now, as magical as the place is, though, I imagine that it's probably been a bit of a hard adjustment for you living overseas.
Totally.
What has that been like being away from your family and your partner?
Yeah, well, it goes in waves, when everything's busy and I'm working a lot, all I'm thinking about is work and all I'm thinking about is, okay, I've got this tomorrow, this the next day. Like there was a period in the middle of the year where I was booked. I was shooting a movie in New Jersey, and so we would shoot. It was like we're doing a lot of nighttime scenes, and I would get picked up at 4 p.m. and we'd shoot till 9 a.m., like overnight till 9 a.m., dropped back at 10. I would sleep for a few hours and then like during the middle of the day and then do it again. So it was like that for a few weeks. And then, your schedule's all out of whack and all you're thinking about is just working. But then in the quiet moments, all you're thinking about is home and all you're thinking about is your partner and your family and your friends. And, when people are having birthdays or engagements and you're not there, you're like, oh, I wish I was there, but I'm also here doing this. And so it's kind of a conflicting feeling. You're achieving all these goals and all these dreams that you've always had, but then at the same time, the core people that you would love to share that with are back home. Mm-hmm. And so, it's a funny feeling. And I think that's why people come to New York to work really hard for a short amount of time and then go home and enjoy that, is because it's not probably a place that you could live forever. Yeah. It's definitely somewhere you go, you hustle hard for a few years, you build a bit of a life there, and then you go and enjoy what you've built somewhere else.
For sure. And how do you stay connected to your support system? Do you guys FaceTime with the time difference? How does that all work?
Oh, the time difference is a nightmare because when I'm awake, it was tricky with Sam because he works really early in the morning. So he would call me when I'd be going to sleep. So we'd speak quickly then. And then when I wake up, he's still at work, I think, or he's about to go to sleep. And then when daylight savings happens, it shifts it even further. And it's like you get a minute here and a minute there and then nothing during the day. But you just make it work. You have a routine. I would call my mum whenever I'm on my morning walk and speak to her while she's going to sleep. And then I'd call my sister. She's living in Perth. So the time zone gives me a bit more time with her. You just make it work.
Of course. And how do you find stillness in a city that doesn't sleep? Because New York is crazy.
Hectic, right?
Do you have any rituals or things that you do to try and center yourself and find peace?
I got into a routine of going on a long morning walk at the crack of dawn, like when the least amount of people were around, still a lot of people, but as small as possible. And that was just my kind of system reset every day. So I'd wake up at 5 a.m., get dressed, make my smoothie, off I go. And it was just that moment of stillness in such a crazy city, where before everyone's really getting up for work.
The work hustle. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you might see a few people on their morning jog or something, but it was still very peaceful and quiet. The sun's still coming up. And I'd really just taken that moment of, be grateful for everything that's happening and everything that you've done and just absorb this all in now. And you're looking at, this insane skyline, like walking down the West Side Highway, you can see all the Financial District and it just looks, it's such a surreal landscape. And so I just would look at the skyline going, this is crazy that I'm here. Then you're looking at the Hudson, you can see the Statue of Liberty and you're like, that's crazy that that's there. It's tiny, but that's crazy.
It is tiny, isn't it?
So small.
They make it look really big in movies.
I know.
I thought the same when I visited too. I was like, she's small.
Yeah.
And when you come back to Melbourne, what's the first thing that you always do?
I went to Green Cup. Yeah. You have no idea.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my gosh. I was craving Green Cup so badly.
What specifically were you craving though?
I don't even know. Just the whole thing. Like it was such a ritual when I was living and working in Melbourne.
Yeah.
I was working retail at Manning Cartel on High Street, and me and all my friends, even after school, like it was such a
The spot.
Totally. You know, it's where you'd go, and then with my mum and my sister, you know, what do you want to do today? Let's go get a Green Cup. And I think I was just really craving that experience. And so I texted my mum. She was picked me up from the airport. I was like, first thing we're doing when we get back, Green Cup, go-to bowl, extra peanut butter. And that's what we did.
Cute. You are now signed with Wilhelmina in New York City, as you mentioned before. For anyone who doesn't know how big Wilhelmina is, this is like huge. We're talking the likes of Naomi Campbell, Kendall Jenner, but I know that it's not all glitz and glamour behind the scenes. There's a lot of hustle. Tell me, what was your first kind of pinch me moment as a model in the US?
I think it was when my first castings came through. I didn't book any of these jobs, but casting for these crazy brands that you know, can only ever dream of as a model. I was like, wow, this is just the normal kind of, quick casting, like head off you go to Maybelline head office, L'Oreal head office or something like that. I was like, wow, this is crazy. This is cool that I'm kind of in the running and in the mix for these kind of jobs. And I think what is so amazing about Wilhelmina is they really shape and guide your career. You know, they know exactly what they're doing in terms of the psychology behind getting booked and, you know, presenting you to a client at the right time and the right time of year, the right time for you, the right time for them. Like it's all so much thinking and planning goes into it, and they're so good at it. And the communication's unreal. Like we talk multiple times a day, every day, all day, and I can ask them anything and they're like, yep, let's do this, let's do that. Or it's a very collaborative relationship that I feel like I have with them, which is amazing. And yeah, they're honestly the best.
Yeah, awesome. And how is the modelling scene in New York different to Australia? Because you mentioned before about how it just being so normal over there that it's like to L'Oreal, you've got access to some amazing brands. Tell me how it differs in terms of pace or culture or competition over in New York compared to here.
It's definitely a lot more fast-paced. So the brands, all the clients are very loyal. So they shoot once a week or a couple of times a week. So they don't really have the time or the energy to be doing massive castings super frequent. So once you're in the door with a brand or a casting agency that work with several brands, it's really about nurturing that relationship and you'll always get rebooked. So it takes a few months. So when I first got there, it took like 3 months. And I was like, this is not going to work. I need to come home. And then you get in the door, your foot, you know, just with one person and, you know, you show up, you do a good job, and then you're constantly rebooked. And I think something for me that I was really actively trying to do was to just really build those relationships with people in the casting rooms and all the clients and just, you know, doing a good job and being that person that they can rely on. And I think I really built a beautiful relationship with the makeup artist, Pat McGrath. She was working with her very frequently and she's insane. I saw the work that you did and I had an oh my goodness moment at home watching I was having
from
it.
Instagram.
It's like this Pat McGrath. Oh my God.
Like huge.
She's incredible.
Yes.
And I think, you know, I felt so pinch me moments working with her because she was just, you know, she's so talented, she's so skillful, but she's such a beautiful person and so is her team. And I was working really closely with them. I was pretty much in-house. She was calling me her muse and we would she's such a beautiful person. You know, if she needed someone to help plan the looks for New York Fashion Week, you know, I'd come in and she would use her incredible brain and launch products and it's a very relationship building city. So once you have those relationships, then she recommends you to somebody else, and then it's just a flow on from there. So yeah, that's probably how
That's fantastic.
Yeah, different.
What's something that people wouldn't expect about modeling in the US?
It's not necessarily about what you look like, which doesn't really make sense, but it's how you are inspiring to the other people in the room. So obviously as a model, your job is to sell things and, be someone's vision, and, being, considered beautiful is kind of just like everyone's beautiful in the industry. That's not a unique trait. What's unique is how can you be inspiring to the people that are trying to book you? How can you, bring to life their vision? And when I think I was reading an article, I can't remember who wrote it or where it was from, but they were saying that as a model, your goal isn't to be the most beautiful person in the room. Your goal is to be the most inspiring person creatively. How can you inspire the photographer? How can you inspire the makeup artist? What about you is different? And I think I still haven't totally figured that out. But what I think is when you're very authentic to you, I have curly hair, don't have it out today, but very curly hair. And, when I embrace my super curly hair and my sense of, style and clothing and how I want to present as a brand is when people are inspired, and that's what gets you booked. Not, you could look so gorgeous, but you might not get booked because it might not be the right inspiring look for that campaign or that shoot. So it's going in with the mentality of how can I be a muse really for the casting directors and the photographers, and how can I, ignite their little creative flair.
It's a really interesting point. I've never actually thought of it that way.
Yeah, it's really like you're very much, obviously, you're a person, but you're a product in a sense of you are a brand and you're your own brand, and you've really got to market that brand in a specific way to inspire other people to see the vision.
And I think further to that as well, also just being a really kind person and being very gracious and courteous to the people that you're working with behind the scenes as well, the makeup artists, the photographers, because I know I've done a little bit of modelling too, and having been on runways and stuff, I'm looking at some of these girls and I'm like, so standoffish and they're rude to makeup artists and that sort of stuff won't get you very far in the industry, right?
No, absolutely not. Everyone knows everyone in that industry. And it's, all it takes is one person to say, oh, she was awful on set. And, you don't know who's listening, or you don't know who's there that, knows somebody else that is going to shut that door for you. So it's, just being kind and generous with everyone, and also giving your time to people, because in New York, everyone's there for a reason. Everyone's there to hustle and work. So shooting with photographers and going, oh, you're doing this portrait book, that's not really beneficial for me, but I'll do it with you and we can work together. And then maybe in the future, if I need, I don't know, something for my book, we can work together again. And it's building those relationships and, giving your time to help people who can, return the favor or not, is what, gets you the most.
For sure. I want to ask you about tall poppy syndrome because, the tendency for people to cut you down when you start achieving really big things, and it's something that is very common in Australia. Do you feel like tall poppy syndrome exists here in Australia, and what's it like over there? Or do you think in the US that people are more supportive of achievements?
Think in Australia, I feel like there's a ceiling when it comes to ambition in Australia. I feel like you get to a certain point and you can't really grow that much more in your career in Australia. And, I guess that comes down to, so many things like economic and environmental things like that affect Australia. We are so far away from the rest of the world. But I think in New York, everyone is trying to push the boundaries and trying to raise the ceiling and raise the roof. And I feel like in New York, when I'm there, I feel like the tiniest little fish in the tiniest little sea, and you're constantly have room to grow and opportunities to try, and people that can, you know, introduce you to someone that is a direction that you might never have thought of, you know, going in. And I feel like in Australia, we just don't have as much of that opportunity. So I think, you know, it's hard to visualize, you know, this is where I want to go. This is what I want to try and achieve, because it probably hasn't been done in Australia before. Whereas in New York, you know, everyone's doing incredible things and people are so happy to help because everyone's kind of in the same boat of we've all moved here for a reason. We're not just moving here for a holiday.
Yeah.
So everyone is very much like, how can I build you up? How can we do this together? What can we benefit from each other? And I think that's what I love about it. It's such a uplifting place to be. You know, if you have a question, you can ask someone, and whether they're the CEO or the, you know, top, they'll be happy to help anyone if you ask. Whereas in Australia, I feel like that's quite intimidating.
Yeah.
I can't really picture myself, you know, reaching out to someone at the top of a company and going, hey, can we get a coffee?
Yeah.
You know, I feel like that's a bit unheard of, whereas in New York, so normal.
It's great to hear of, because when you think of the scale and, as you said, the competition and how many models are there all trying to achieve the same thing, that even though you yourself may feel like the little fish, the fact that you still feel like you can do that and ask more senior people to have that sense of empowerment, I think is amazing.
It's so amazing.
You've done so many amazing things in New York. I mean, you've worked with Pat McGrath, Nicole and Felicia you've worked for.
Thank you.
New York Fashion Week as well. Which moment has felt the most meaningful so far? Or is there one that you're most proud of in your time?
I think when I was flying over to New York on the plane, I wrote down a list of goals of what I wanted to achieve this year. And one of them was working with Maybelline. And it was one of the first castings I got. Didn't get the job. I think I had like 10 castings with them throughout the year. Didn't get it. And then another one, a last minute one came through. They needed quick digitals. I was like, I never get this job. I'll just send like whatever. And then I booked it. And so I think that was probably one of my like, oh my God, I actually, you know, achieved one of the goals on my list. I did it, which was, I felt, you know, so empowered and happy about that. But then also all the surprise jobs that I never thought that I would do, like the Netflix movie that I was shooting. I was like, I do not see myself in doing this, and I've never done anything like this, but I loved it and it was so much fun. And now I want to pursue, you know, that direction even more and see where that takes me.
It's a bit of acting on the cards.
Why not?
Okay. Moraya, you've become a regular on the event circuit. I mean, when you're here in Australia, everyone's snapping you up, and even in New York as well, I see you go to a lot of events. But with that visibility, I think can sometimes come an expectation that you have to try and keep that public image alive and always show up online. Do you ever feel pressure to constantly show up or perform a certain version of yourself on social media?
For sure. Even I felt that at the races after the first day. I think because it was a bit of a surprise that I was there. I was like, oh, now we've got to back it up for the next few days. We've got to make sure we show up, you know, ready to rumble.
And you were all over the papers and the magazines. Everyone wanted you during Cup too, so I can imagine how you probably felt like that.
Yeah, you kind of I feel like when you do something and it's received well, there is that expectation that you remain at that level. And I think, you know, for me, it always comes down to internal pressure that I put on myself of you need to remain at that, you know, level and maintain that. And if you don't, then you're failing. But it's all just, you know, your own mental chatter in your head. And I think what I do to, I guess, navigate that and those feelings is just at the end of the day, this is all a little bit of fun. You know, this is fun. And if it wasn't fun, I wouldn't be doing it. And, you know, yes, there is a pressure to show up, but also I think people find it really refreshing when you are authentic. And, you know, if you don't really feel like doing something that day, you're like, I'm actually knackered. I'm not doing this. And people go, yeah, fair enough. I would be too.
And not feeling guilty for that either.
Totally.
Yeah.
You know, and I think people resonate with that more than if you were perfectly put together 100% of the time. I feel like that's just not, I mean, for me, that's just not going to happen ever. I feel like, you know, everyone has their moments of needing a break or needing a rest or needing a minute to yourself. And I am pretty comfortable in taking those minutes or days or weeks to just be myself and just chill out and do whatever I want, go get a green carb and
100%.
walk my dog.
Yes. What is your relationship with social media like though? Because obviously you use it a lot for work.
Yeah.
Right? Is it something that you tolerate, you really love, you spend a lot of time on?
I try and use my social media like if I owned a business and I was running a brand's Instagram and I kind of use it like that. I post as if I was a brand. So that takes the pressure off me a lot, I think. I don't really care if the engagement's through the roof or if it's not. It's like, look, whatever. Yeah. This is a brand. This is a business. That's the industry that I'm in. I am my own brand. I am my own business. And so I feel like that keeps the separation away from Moraya as in myself and then Moraya as in the brand.
Yeah.
And so I think it's probably taken a long time to get to that point. And I think New York definitely helped because everyone treats themselves as a personal brand. And I think I learned a lot from people in New York doing that. And so, yeah, when I have events or I feel like I spend a lot of time on Instagram, it's all really just as creative inspiration, whether that is in fashion or in design or just, spending time on Pinterest. Like I love Pinterest.
Pinterest is so good.
It's the best. I could spend hours on there just, doing
curating
collages. And I love that. I find that so stimulating. And I find, even in high school, I did all the art subjects and all the design subjects. I love that. I thought I was going to be a fashion designer when I was growing up. So I love being creative and I think it lets me do that in a way that's not completely attached to my identity.
Sure. Moy, you're at such an exciting crossroads at the moment. You're obviously living overseas, you're building a career and growing this incredible platform. What is next for you? Can you share any sort of goals that you've got or things that you're manifesting?
Yeah, definitely. Oh, manifesting is huge. Love manifesting.
Yeah.
Well, at the moment, I've just signed across Europe for modelling.
Oh my goodness, that is so exciting.
Very new, literally this week. I've signed.
Congratulations.
Thank you. In Milan with Select Models Milan, Spain with Francina Spain and Wilhelmina London.
Incredible.
So that will be on the cards next year at some point. Still need to map out where I'll be at what time and how that will all work.
Wow.
But I feel like, as after my first international year in the US, I've kind of done it the wrong way. Most people, you start in Australia, then you go to Europe, then you go to the US, but I've kind of gone straight to New York. And now I'm going to explore things in Europe.
Are there any specific brands or campaigns that you would love to work with? Anyone that's on
of course,
your list?
But I feel like I love keeping my dream brands, my little vision board secret. Yeah.
I get you.
And then when it comes through, then I'll tell.
For sure. If you could shoot anywhere in the world though,
okay,
what is your bucket list location to shoot?
Oh my gosh, it would be somewhere in like Mauritius on a boat.
Stunning.
Doing like a Tommy Hilfiger campaign.
Stunning. Love that.
Let's just put that out there.
Let's put it out there. Tommy Hilfiger, if you're listening,
yes,
right here for you.
I'll dive off a boat.
Have you got any other creative avenues? Anything else you'd love to do? Because obviously you do a lot of modelling. You said now more acting potentially.
Yeah, potentially
on
acting.
The cards.
And I guess what's so special about this industry is you can really try anything in the creative sense of, creative direction for yourself, for someone else's brand. So I think in New York, obviously my visa only allows me to do modelling, but in Australia, I love, working creatively with brands in a more hands-on way. So I think I'd like to explore that a little bit further this coming year.
And if you could tell your younger self, one thing, what would it be?
Enjoy the process a little bit, Moraya. Enjoy
Which is hard
it.
to do.
Oh gosh, it's so hard to do. Way easier said than done.
Yeah.
But everything that I feel like I'm doing and working towards and achieving or not achieving, it's all just part of the fun of it. It's part of the story. It's part of what makes me and, memories that I can share when I'm old. and have grandkids or whatever.
And to tell them, yes, when you're on the cover of Vogue and all that fun stuff.
It's funny. A video popped up of me at Miss Universe with John Legend playing on the piano behind. And we were
I remember that video.
we were in the car, Sam and I. And Sam's like, oh, that's so cool, Moy. I'm so proud of you. And I was like, it's something that I'd love to show my grandkids. Be like, that was your granny doing
that's
that.
right.
And I think that's just, my advice to my younger self is enjoy it. All the highs, all the lows, it's all part of what's making you you. And it's what's making it so special. And, when you have lows, it's what makes all the wins so much better.
That's right.
And just chill out a bit.
Chill out a bit. I feel that in my bones.
Chill out a bit is going to work out.
Moraya, we have a closing tradition on the podcast where every guest has to answer a round of rapid fire Q&A questions.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Question number 1. What is one beauty product that's always in your bag?
Sunscreen.
Dream designer you'd love to walk for?
Chanel. Oh, Isabel Marant.
Good one. Both good ones. Hidden talent no one knows about?
I feel like everyone knows about now. Ski racing.
Yeah.
But let me think. Hidden talent.
You got
no
any
one
party
knows about.
tricks?
Really good at cards. Really good at card games. Yeah.
I picked that. There
like
you go.
memory games.
Okay. What is the last photo in your camera roll?
Probably a screenshot of a piece of clothing I want to buy.
Aussie coffee or New York bagel?
Aussie coffee.
If you weren't modelling, what would you be doing?
Probably creative directing or head of community and culture at something.
Mm-hmm. What is the most random celebrity you've bumped into in New York City?
Bradley Cooper.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
He used to live around the corner from me.
Stop.
Yeah. I was like,
I would have
what?
freaked out. What is the last movie or TV show you watched and enjoyed?
What was it? I was watching it in the US with my roommate. Not The Summer I Turned Pretty, but something very similar.
Okay.
Something like that.
Okay. Love those kinds of shows. Red carpet event or a night on the couch?
Night on the couch.
And what's something you're most grateful for this year?
My partner, Sam.
Cute.
Yeah.
Sam, if you're listening to this, Moy loves you very much.
Shout out to Sam.
We love Sam. Moy, thank you so much for coming on the show. You were fabulous. I feel so inspired after that conversation. Thank you for all the wisdom and nuggets that you shared today. I'm sure many people will take a lot away from this convo. So thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And would you believe that is a wrap on an incredible 3 seasons of Smile the Makeover Scoop. A massive thank you from myself and the team here at Vogue Dental Studios for everyone who's tuned in week after week, who has shared an episode, sent in a message. A big thank you to all the guests who have come on the show as well and shared their stories. And from me to the team here at Vogue Dental Studios, Dr. D and the team who work tirelessly behind the scenes to put on this incredible show, a massive thank you. This has been such a special journey and it's just been amazing. So have a wonderful Christmas and New Year, because I probably won't see you.
I know. Thank you.
But it's been wonderful. So thank you for coming.
Thank you for
we'll
having me.
catch you all very soon. Bye for now. This podcast is for informational purposes only and does not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice. Please consult with a professional for specific advice tailored to your situation.